Baca. I'm the founder and director of Eco Village Farm, and really glad to have you guys out here today. It's a beautiful day, and it's from talking to Pastor Smith and Michael. I think your primary focus today you wanted to be on about the bees. And it's the weather is cool, so the bees are not going to be hyperactive today, so you'll spend a little time with them. You won't spend it full time, but you'll have a chance to observe some of our colonies. And it'll just be very informal. You can feel free to ask any questions you have. I'll give you a little orientation to Eco Village, and so that's kind of what it's my understanding we'll be here until about 12 o'clock today together. And I'm here basically as a resource person for you, and hopefully you can get a better understanding of what we do, and you're welcome also to become a part of the bee apprenticeship program. We have started our second year of doing the beekeeping apprentice. We are into our second month of our second year, and actually today I'm going to have one of the graduates from the last series to do the facilitation of you with the bees today. That's one way for me to have some indication as to how well we're doing with our bee apprenticeship program by having sort of like doing a peer train-the-trainer type activity. And so I got a person by the name of Malcolm Weeks who will be showing up shortly, and he will lead this session, lead you all over to where the bees are and introduce you to the bees. And Dylan, I think we'll probably be able to suit you up somehow. Since you're 5 and going on 15, we'll find a suit that'll may fit you a little big, but we'll get you suited up a little bit. Okay. All right. So any questions, any comments? I want to be able to be sure we kind of fulfill your expectation for today. Basically, what the whole purpose of Eco Village Farm is to do the type of things we're doing with you today. We do a lot of work with youth, particularly youth from West Contra Costa Unified School District, and youth who have some challenges. We have them come out and work with us 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, as part of their, these are high school students with certain challenges, and they have matriculated age-wise out of high school, but the school district is still responsible for them, and we're trying to provide them with some hardcore and some softcore skills that will allow them to gain some employment at an entry level. And so we have those, and we work with all different sectors of the community, but our primary focus is on with the youth group. And we have the area that we have here is about 5.6 acres, and you'll get a chance to see some of it today. We've been doing, this is a fall of the year, and it's been very dry this year and last year too, and the year before. And we've been doing a lot of pruning, so you'll see a lot of, along with the Civic Corps, which used to be called AmeriCorps, we've been doing a lot of pruning. It looks like this is Malcolm is coming now. And so you'll see a lot of pruning taking place. Here come Malcolm. Here come our leader. Welcome, Malcolm.
How you doing?
Okay, and come on in. I was just telling them, hi, how are you?
How are you?
The young lady?
Yes, that's Rachel. everybody.
Oh yeah,
How you doing,
welcome. Come on
Rachel?
in. Don't stand back. Come on in. Have a seat. You got your own suit. Wow, amazing. Well, Malcolm is going to, as I had said earlier, he's a graduate of our program last series, and he's going to lead the session today, and you can get some idea. All the knowledge he has, he didn't necessarily gain it from our group. He came to us with some knowledge also, of course, and he's teaching me how to fish, even though we haven't had a chance to go together yet. But he's a big fisherman also. Sent me some pictures the other day of a lot of fish he caught at Alpine Lake.
Alpine Lake.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Malcolm, and why don't we go around and introduce yourselves again to Malcolm and to the rest of the group.
Well, I'm Malcolm,
Starting is
everybody.
it Dylan? You want to introduce yourself?
What's your name, young man? Dylan.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
I'm Sean.
Sabrina. I work with
And,
Mesa.
and Sabrina works with Mesa. Okay. Lauren and and you're
I'm Angela.
Kamari.
Kamar.
Kamari.
Kamar.
Rachel.
welcome.
And I'm Mike.
Okay. Malcolm. And so I was just explaining to them that you will lead them once they get suited up over to the bees and maybe open a colony up and let them take a look.
Okay.
And I will also give on the way over there. I'll give them a little tour of Eco Village and any questions or comments you want to make beforehand.
Yeah, I just want to share a little bit.
Sure, go right
Short
ahead.
story of my experience, maybe a little backstory. So I am a father of four, single father of four wonderful children. I'm a small business owner of a local construction company, and I recently started after this program, I recently have a brand of honey now. The name is Sweet Simone, and it's named after my daughter's middle name is Simone. And
Wow.
so it's kind of a dedication.
He started on business.
It started. So it's me and my father, and it's named after my daughter. So to me, it's a 3-generation business that we are going to start, and I'm hoping to have the honey soon in local stores. So the backstory of how I got into bees, 2 years ago, my father has a really nice garden at his house. He has.
You should speak a little louder because I think he's
Yeah, I'm.
Sorry,
recording.
my father has, 2 years ago, my father has a really nice yard. We have guava, fig, Asian pear, bananas, grapefruit, avocado. So we have between 8 to 12 variety of fruits and edible plants. And we noticed a decline in fruit production. Typically they would produce every other year, and then they would skip a year, and they got to the point where it was about 4 years we hadn't had fruit from a lot of our plants. And my father said, hey, what do you think about getting bees? I heard they're great pollinators and they may help. And I said, I think that's a great idea. So between him and I, we purchased our first beehive prior to starting this class. And that was a very, very steep learning curve. We learned a lot of things the wrong way. The hard way. We made a lot of mistakes, and the bees eventually what's called swarmed. And typically when they swarm, half of the bees stay. And so what they did, I can't pronounce the word correctly, abscon. Are you familiar with that term?
Big pardon?
Abscon.
Absconded.
Abscon. It means they all left.
Okay.
So they completely left because we weren't.
You lost all of them.
We lost all of them because we weren't giving them enough space. They didn't have enough food, and it was around fall, which is when their intake of food starts to slow down. So long story short, we made a bunch of mistakes, and we happened to be at a local bee shop in on Telegraph. I suggest you guys check it out. Be Healthy Bee
And,
Shop.
yeah.
And there were flyers there for an apprentice program. So my father and I both signed up immediately, and we met once a month, like I'm sure he told you, once a month for a year. And this class was, I would say 90%, 95% of what I know, I learned at this class. A lot of what I know, I did do, additional research, but I did learn a lot of information from this class. There was a master beekeeper who would often visit and share his knowledge with us. There were books and reading materials available. We watched videos. There were so many ways that this program kind of shoved information down my throat. And having a thirst for knowledge, it was perfect. It was a perfect program. And not only did we get the education, we actually got hands-on. We're gonna take a tour of the beehive. We actually got hands-on experience working with bees, which was also great. You can read how to do something. I don't know how you guys learn. We all learn differently, but reading something I don't learn from reading. I need to do it hands-on. So to me, there's audio learners, visual, and kinetic. So to me, this class offers all three of those learning processes, which is great. So that was that's the backstory and how I ended up here.
Good, very, very good. And I'm so happy to see that you we encourage each of the people who participate in our session, our apprenticeship program, to have a project. And some people out of the last group, 3 people have already started their own business, and one guy who was here with us in our group, the business that he engaged in. Let me just give you an example. He wants to, you know how bees are brought down from different places, Florida or Washington or someplace, and taken to the Central Valley in the springtime to pollinate the almonds and the walnuts and all the different types of trees down there. He's starting a commercial business of transporting bees from across the country from where they need to be. So that's one. Then one other person is buying. She went to Rwanda. She's in the class this period around. She's wants to import honey from Rwanda, Africa, to the U.S. She met a lot of beekeepers there who are producing a lot of honey, but they don't have a market for it. So she's working to create a market for them here in the U.S. So she's part of our group this session. And one other person is selling honey. He's buying honey wholesale, and he's retailing it and he's selling it. That's Ray and Gabby, who you know from the group. So people are really taking off, and I'm so glad to see Malcolm and his father with their business underway already. That's wonderful. So what we're going to do is, we have enough suits for everybody. The suits have different sizes, like small, medium, and large. And I'm going to let you choose the suit that fits you the best. We'll try to assist you. And then once you are suited up, I'm gonna let Malcolm lead you over, and he will open a colony of bees. You'll get a chance to do some observation, ask him any questions, and any questions to this point. Let me ask one question: is anybody here super allergic to bee sting? We don't anticipate anybody getting stung. We'll take the necessary precautions. But if you've had prior experience with having been stung by a bee, then I don't want you to participate. But if you suit up really well, we'll check you, see if you suited up well. The weather's pleasant, so the bees are not. It's not really hot, and that's good. And so we won't be using a smoker. And we'll just have you over there, and we won't spend a whole lot of time. We'll maybe spend about 30 minutes over there, and then you'll come back. And the follow-up discussion we can have here, we have a honey extractor. Malcolm can demonstrate to you how that's used. And let me ask you a question. Anybody here got any prior experience with working with bees? You all, okay, that's okay, okay. So how does it sound so far from what information we've provided you so far? You feel comfortable with what we're proposing? Okay. And again, we're very informal. Ask any questions you want to ask as we proceed on. You'll get a chance to come back and sit down and have a little debriefing. And And so come on up now, and we will try to get you fitted with the outfit and the gloves. You're going to have a hood on. You're going to have a jacket. You don't necessarily need the long pants on because you got nobody has on shorts. But we do have gloves for you. We want you to wear your gloves, okay? Okay, so come on up, and if you have bags or anything, purses.
You look like astronauts.
Yeah, beastronauts.
Sure. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
actually zip.
I guess they didn't even put them on properly.
Zip, if you can zip it up and. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Now, since we've already assigned the new group their colonies over there, Claire's actually be involved with us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice. She's a great resource.
Yeah, she's.
That's good.
And I went to her place. I saw her hive.
Oh yeah. She's
Yeah.
got quite a few. Yeah.
And we have. I'll show you. They won't be over there by, but we do have one nest of hornets over there.
Okay.
But they won't be close to them. And you'll see we did a lot of clearing over there. We're getting ready to put in. I'll explain over there. We're getting ready to put in a lot of wildflowers.
Nice.
And different plants for food for the bees.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody's okay now?
Yeah. Snap a quick pic.
Okay, hold on just a second.
I guess that's it.
Did the hornets fight with the bees, or?
They can. Yeah.
They
Hornets
can.
are enemies. They actually want to take the young bees and eat them.
Oh, wow.
Hornets
don't
eat
like
meat.
hornets and wasps.
They're carnivorous, correct.
Okay,
So they are rivals.
why don't you line up over here and let Michael get a shot of you
Yeah, you guys want to
over
get
here
in?
before and after. We'll take. Are you, Sabrina?
I want to get one too. I can. Okay. Perfect. We're good. I think.
Along here, we have our chickens and rabbits and goats and pig over here, or in this area here. Okay, you'll get a chance to visit those a little later. Come on. And this is our yurt.
These days. Especially with these gloves. I like to wear these thick leather.
We do a lot of the workshops in here. Then our yurt here we use this for our workshop area. Particularly when it's raining or anything, we use that for our workshops. And we have our greenhouse over here. And as you can see, we've been doing a lot of pruning. We have to do a lot of pruning on the walnut tree.
What needs to be pruned?
Well, it's usually, particularly if you see a limb crossing another one, you usually do. And this is a good time because trees are kind of dormant now. This is a good time to prune. And when you do prune, this is the olive tree here. Cut all of your back so that you don't leave like a stub sticking out and it won't become infected. And it's good to also to put a seal on it to get you can get some black paint or something and put on it and seal it off so it won't become infected.
Oh.
Yeah, but usually, like I'll give you some examples over here. We're teaching the youth how to prune, so they haven't completed pruning yet. But say right here,
Oh yeah.
this here could go, this could go, and just leave the main stem like this one is crossing this one.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, you can see, this is a good way, idea. You could cut,
Okay.
see how this is crossing over this one?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Cut that back right there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And then this right here, I have to move this fairly soon because it's not a good idea to have a lot of chips stacked up like that. It can get
Okay.
too hot and start a fire.
Oh wow. I
Yeah,
didn't
if
think
you
about
stick your
that.
hand in there, it's hot in there.
Oh, that-
It's
okay.
warm in there. And
Like compost.
yeah, And all of this is stuff we were pruned. We will chip it, put it in a chip and chip it. And we'll use the chip as root suppression.
We have a cherry tree and it has like a lot of straggler.
Yeah. So we still got a lot of more pruning to do.
Most local garden stores have that experience. Biodegradable specifically for plants.
It's non-toxic.
Non-toxic.
And this pine tree, it's going to actually, in this area, pine trees are being infected. There's a beetle, and so this we've lost a lot of pine trees, and this one is infected too, and it will eventually die. And the roots, if we get a lot of rain, the roots of the pine tree is not that far in the ground, and it'll just tilt over. It's not. The roots are not deep. The surface roots. We did a lot of clearing back here the last this past week. We did a lot of clearing, and you can come on in. This area will be planted out with a lot of pollinating plants. So when the rain comes, they'll just spring up, and it'll create food for the bees. Because the bees have to eat year round. And even though they get a lot more food in the springtime when a lot of the different vegetation is in bloom, but you want to create a source of food for them so they can have food year round. And down, as I mentioned earlier, down in the Central Valley, where they grow a lot of walnuts and almonds and trees that only blossom in the springtime. After the springtime is over with, they have to feed them. They have to feed the bees. Put a feeder in the hive and feed them because they don't have anything to feed upon. But around here, fortunate enough, the bees have enough food to forage on year round. Yeah. Okay. Malcolm is going to get his smoker going. That's going to make the bees, that'll calm them down, even though today, like I say, it's not warm, and they should be in a pretty relaxed state. You can come on back while he's doing that. You can come on over here. Okay, and normally there's only one queen to a hive, to a colony, and if they end up being two queens, get confused. They may. Let me just show you back here. There is a yellow jacket nest over here. And a lot of people will see the yellow jackets and they will think that they are bees, but they're not bees, they are yellow jackets. And they can sting a bee. If a bee stings you one time, that bee dies. A yellow jacket can sting you multiple times. And they're much more aggressive than bees. So we're preparing this area here. This, you can come on back. You come out here later on after the rain. Hopefully the rain will come. We're clearing this area all up, and we will seed it with pollinating plants. And it'll, not only will it look nice, but it'll create a food source for the bees. But a bee, normally they will travel it within a 2-mile radius for food during the daytime. That's pretty 2 miles. That's a pretty good distance for a small bee. But they'll travel that far for looking for food. And bees are smart. They know when time. All flowers don't open up at the same time during the day. So bees know they have a way of knowing what flowers will open at morning, noon, or in the evening. And what happens, a bee will come back to find a food source, if it's a good food source, come back to the colony and do a dance. And that dance, the other bees in that dance will tell them how far the food is, sort of like a GPS system, how far the food is, where the food is, and how much, whether it's an abundant supply or whether it's a narrow supply. And the other bees, these are all female bees. That's the ones that you see out working during the daytime. They're female. They will go out there and bring food back, pollen and nectar back to the hive colony. So they're very smart, you know. And you never see a bee just kicking back, relaxing. They're always out busy. That's why the term busy as a bee, because they're out working, and it's the only insect that provides food for human consumption. They don't do it for us. We just take the food supply that they provide for them, that they're storing up for themselves, and we use it as honey. And the bees are not native to North America. These are European honeybees. They were brought into this country supposedly by Benjamin Franklin back in 1700s, 1776, somewhere around that time. I'm going to show you. There are some trees here that are not good for bees. The California buckeye, which is native to here. Let me show you one of them. Come on back. Kind of California buckeye. The pollen from that tree is not healthy for young bees, but the bees have found out a way to coexist with the California buckeye, which is native for here. Okay? See if I can find here's the California buckeye tree here. There's also a buckeye called Ohio buckeye, but it's a different species than the California buckeye. This is the fruit from the tree. But in the springtime, this tree will blossom, and the pollen from the tree is harmful to the fruit from the California buckeye fruit. It grows really rapidly. If you take this tree, if you take this home and you plant it, it will grow really fast. It will grow, so you don't want to plant it anywhere where you don't want a big, huge tree. Look at this tree here. We just finished pruning some of it, but it grows. It's really aggressive, and even though the top of the tree may not be no more high than this, the root may be that long. It grows it germinates really fast. That's a California buckeye. And so the pollen from that tree, and the Indians, what they would do, the Native Americans, they would take this, beat it up into a meal form. They fish with it because the toxin from the nut, from the fruit, it makes fish, it affects it's a neurotoxin. And it doesn't kill the fish, but it just makes them,
Confused.
so they float to the top, and then they would take a net and just scoop the fish up. And I haven't tried it yet, but I plan on using it sometimes when I go fishing to see how well I do. But that's the nut that comes from the inside of the. Here's another one here. So if you want to grow a California buckeye, it's really easy, and they are native to this area. Okay. You want to see that, Dylan? That's a California buckeye nut. You plant it in your yard, it'll grow into a big tree, man.
I don't know if we have the space.
Okay, let's go back up and let. Any questions so far?
From the Native Americans. Kind of everywhere here.
Yeah, if they're fishing, and then we have a creek over here. It's
almost
called
papery, huh?
Wilkie Creek down there. There's no water, very little water in it right now because it hasn't rained. But yeah, we cleared out a lot of beehives back here, and that's so. What they would do is they would say round it up and throw it in the water, and the fish will be exposed to it, and they float up to the top, and they just take a net and just scoop them up.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a smart way to fish.
Yeah.
It's not edible though, right?
No, it's not edible. No,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
Do you want to feel it? Dylan?
I think the Native Americans had a way of detoxifying it to use it,
Crispy, crunchy.
but I don't know how that's done. But they made use of it. The women would use it, and somehow they detoxified, and then they would be able to use it. No, it's not good for the bees at all. No, it's harmful, particularly for the young bees. Yeah, but the bees, we don't have. The bees know how to.
I'm going to show the boy.
Yeah, so it's not. It's just the young bees that have some trouble with it. Yeah, that's from the beehive. We cleared out. We had a lot of beehives. We had a lot of. You see that old honeycomb there? We just removed a lot of beehives from back there, and that came out of that. We had a lot of old beehives back here, and we got rid of them, and that's where that's from. The leadership of Malcolm. Okay. You bet.
Hey, I don't know if Sam explained, so I always keep a smoker with me. With the smoke, bees communicate in two ways.
Come on up so you can hear him.
They communicate in two ways. They communicate by dancing or movement, and then they also communicate with pheromones, which we can't smell. And so what the smoke does is it disrupts the pheromone. One bee can't receive. So if a bee shoots out a warning, hey, there's someone messing with us, the smoke disrupts that pheromone, so the hive doesn't get that warning and go into alert mode. So I always, to me, this is one of the most important tools in beekeeping. And a lot of people ask me about getting stung. I got stung more times. I would get stung maybe 3 to 5 times a year. Before I became a beekeeper, I would get stung more than I have now. So
Just like in life.
just in life, yeah, just fishing and driving down the highway, and I put my elbow on the armrest, I get stung. Like I don't know why I would get stung 3 to 5 times a year. But now that I'm a beekeeper, I get stung less. Yeah. In a way, they were calling me my whole life. So.
Also, for experienced beekeepers, it's good to you learn how to work without gloves, because you work much more cautious and less disruption. And so we have one person who is our beekeeper, Khalid. He don't wear any uniform or no gloves or anything. He's been stung multiple times. But the bees, he works very relaxed around the bees, and the bees don't feel threatened by him.
Yeah,
That's true. That's
Okay.
calm and slow movements, and even if one flies, you guys are all protected. Even if one flies by, you try not to swat at it.
Yeah.
Try
Don't
not to.
swat at him. If a bee gets close to you, don't hit at it. You're protected. Okay. Go.
Show
feel
me
free.
which hive.
Big one?
Show me which hive. You guys
Oh
rearrange.
yeah.
it.
Let me show you
You
which
change-
one.
It looks so different.
Ain't nothing here back here. All that stuff.
Yeah, you guys don't did a lot of work.
Be relaxed. Come on down. You're well protected, so you don't have nothing to fear.
They seem to notice we're here.
Big pardon?
They notice we're here. There's more of them out right
Oh
now.
yeah. But we didn't even hold you.
No.
Okay.
All right, you guys. So these things are called frames, and the bees. I'll pull one out for you.
Come on around here, you guys, so you can see.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to see if you're
Can I
behind.
go get a, you got a tool?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on around here.
You haven't been working in a while, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been about a week since we opened that, or 2 weeks.
There we go.
And if you need to go to a different one, go to a different one. He's going to open up a frame for you. Okay. Give me a hold up. You got it?
So the glues actually build their own, the bees, excuse me, build their own glue, which is called propolis, which makes it kind of hard to get it out.
See there?
So this is a nice frame of honey.
It's got a lot of honey in
It
it.
does. So if you can,
Oh, what's the black stuff?
so this is called cap honey, and down here, let's see if I can get them to move. So after when they initially put honey into the hive, into the cells, it is let's see if we can get them to move. It's visible. So if you guys can see that little area right there, that shiny stuff in there is honey. So after the honey has sat for, it's actually goes through a similar to a fermentation process. And once a certain amount of humidity comes out, I believe it's 70%, the bees know that they cap it. They put wax on top of it, which is similar to putting a jar on top of your honey.
Yeah. And once you do that, it lasts for a long
For
time,
years, true.
for years. They've even opened up some of the tombs of the pharaohs and found honey, and the honey is still good. Thousands of years ago.
True, yeah.
Yeah, Sam Bill said honey can last basically forever if
Yep.
you treat it properly.
True. That's true. So we'll pull out another frame and
Okay.
I'll show you something different. And I think Cheyenne mentioned to you, there's typically one queen per hive, and all these girls, they're all females, they're all sisters. That's something that I learned and I think is very, very cool. There's every now and then there are drones. If I see one, I will show you what a drone looks like. You mind?
Let me hold that.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
So, I've never. Don't swat them, baby. They're not
This
trying
is
to hurt you,
another
they're just trying
frame
to
of
relax.
honey. So I want to show you guys. This one also has what's called capped brood. Can you guys see some of these spots? So that is, those are baby bees. So how it works, they go through three processes. They lay an egg, then there's the pupa, then there's the larva, and then it becomes an adult. So between the larva and pupa stage, they put a cap on it, which is similar to a cocoon in butterflies, and it turns from the larva into the adult, and then it will emerge and eat itself out of the cap. All of these caps that I'm mentioning, the honey caps and the baby caps, are all wax. And wax, from my understanding, is a byproduct. They mix their spit, and that's what kind of creates the wax material. And what I learned in this class and was really cool is they collect pollen, which is powder, and they mix it with their saliva, and that's what makes the honey. So in theory, honey is has saliva in it. It's regurgitate, but I found that amazing. Another thing I learned. See, here's a yellow jacket, guys. Can we see this?
Yeah.
That was a yellow jacket. He
What is
looks.
it doing in
Yeah.
there?
And those are the ones that can sting you. They're aggressive.
Yeah,
Is
he
it
should.
there to get the baby bees?
Possibly, or just inspecting because I opened it up. He can smell. He's just seeing what's going on. I can. I love that smell. It smells so sweet. Yeah, there goes that yellow jacket again. So
Yeah.
let's get
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, he shouldn't be in there.
Should they be sticking still and just call?
It's a nest of them over there. I showed them where the nest was. Let me get this out of this straw here.
You see there's bees over
Yeah.
there? So cool. They're just checking me out.
All right.
There are, but they're not hurting me.
The back of your hood is not
Let's
zipped.
try one
I know
more.
who he is. Is he here to be friends?
So what happens? I've assigned the people that's in the beekeeping program. That's the
Kind of
apprentice. I've assigned each one of them, and they work in pairs, and each one have a colony that they're supposed to take care of and check it out for the health of the colony and what if it's been infected with any mice, they need to, and they come and check it out at least once or twice a month. The class meets itself every second Saturday of the month, but they are welcome to come in during the interval period and check on their colony. Yeah.
True, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, every time I open a hive, I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for good things and bad things. So good things would be honey, which is their food. I often look for the queen, but if you see babies like we saw, then you know she's there. Those babies, they hatch in 16 days from the egg being laid to an adult. So if you see babies, then that means she's been there within the last 16 days, which means she's functioning. Bad things you want to look for are mites. A sign of mites, they're very small. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, so sometimes I can't see them, but I look at the bee's wings. And then when you see wings that are chewed off or that are missing pieces, that's a sign of mites. So those are the bad things that I look for. So typically the good things, like I said, are food and babies. And the bad things would be mites. Or
And we have to
insects.
come in and treat. We have to come in and treat the colony with,
This is another full frame of honey. This is-
disinfectant. Yeah.
There's a lot of
Is
honey
that
in
like
this.
a spray or what is the
The mite, the ones I'm familiar with is a strip. It almost looks like a mouse, similar to a mouse sticky pad.
Okay.
And you stick it on top of the frames, and the bees, it's so small, the bees can't get into it, but the mites can. And I'm sure there's some kind of attractive.
How do you know which one is the queen? Just by looking?
Correct, yes. So typically the queen, so this has honey. The queen is usually not on a frame with honey. She's usually on the frame with bees, with baby bees. She gets fed by her workers, so she doesn't need to come. This, if you notice, we have 3 boxes. So usually the bottom box is the brood box, which are the babies. The middle box have a mix of honey and babies, and the top is usually just honey. So typically she's where the babies are because she doesn't need to actually physically feed herself. They grab the food and they almost hand feed her, their queen. They take very good care of her.
Yeah, they keep the hive temperature constant. The worker bees, they will, if it's hot, they will work their wings more
Yep.
to keep the temperature in the hive around 96 degrees. Yeah, they're a good thermometer. They don't want the queen to get too hot or too cold.
Cool, that's right.
Yeah.
And typically, yeah, you'll see them. It's so, to me, it's really cool. They'll all line up with their butts facing out, and it's called fanning. They'll just fan, and you'll see a line of them. It's like, it's so cool to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan had a question for you. Do
Yes.
you want to ask Dylan?
You
He's
do.
got a bug checking him
You
out
do, right there. But you're super safe with that net, and you're super calm.
Yeah.
Good job, Dylan.
He also wanted to know about each of these boxes. Are they each part of the same colony, or are they?
That's great. Correct. So these 3 boxes are all considered one hive. So there should only be one queen in here, and she is the mother of all of these sisters. They're all sisters, and they're all the queen's daughters, which is really cool. So this bottom box is for brood or babies. The middle box has some babies and some honey, and usually the top box is all honey, which is their food. That's their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They eat the same thing every day.
I assume you guys have multiple boxes here? Like this isn't the only colony?
no, we have
Correct. Yeah. So each stack is a separate
each one.
colony.
It's a different colony of bees.
So I guess that means bees aren't that territorial, at least when they have their own
No, they know
space.
the
know
what
which
colony
one's
they
theirs,
belong to. They will go to their own colony. They won't go to a different colony. They have their own colony. They know their address.
He's not gonna make it.
Yeah.
He's not gonna make it.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, they die after this thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm fine. He got my cup, not my bottle.
Oh,
Come on down. I'm sorry.
So one more thing, guys, I want to mention is I always put the frames back in the exact same, the same order and orientation that I took them out. Typically, they fit like a puzzle. The way the bees build them, one, it won't fit if it's backwards or twisted or sideways. So it's always important to try to remember how you took it out. And Cheyenne was talking about how the bees do know their own hives, which is true. But one of the things I experienced this year, every year to me I learned something different as a beekeeper. This year I dealt with what's called robber bees. So a stronger colony somewhere came and was taking, not attempting, they actually invaded the hive and were taking the honey out for them to bring back to their own personal hive. And so there was a lot of fights. There was mid-air fighting. There was fighting on the ground. It was like almost like a war. And that's something that I've never experienced that. But after doing research, it does happen. A stronger hive took over one of my weak hives. And I thought they would move in. They didn't move in. They just took all the honey and took it back to wherever they came from.
Nature can be brutal.
Yeah, and I tried to follow them. You know, one trick, if you're fast enough, you can follow a scout bee, and if you can keep up with them on a bike, they will often lead you to where the hive is. But I couldn't, you know, the streets I couldn't keep up with them to find where they took it to. Does anybody have any questions?
You might have already answered this, but how do you know when to harvest the honey? Is it when it's
That's a great.
full?
Yeah, so I can just show you. So if you noticed, I can look down in the box and see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 frames of honey, and I believe I pulled out about 3 of them. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 or 6 are completely empty of honey.
Oh,
So
I
I
see.
wouldn't. So what you want to do? This is a 10 frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's a 10 frame box. 80% is the rule. They call it 70-30. As long as 70% of them, which means 7 of the frames, are full of honey, then you can extract them. And typically when I do extractions, I don't take all 10 of the frames because the honey is their food. So you definitely want to leave enough food for them to eat.
Okay.
So that's it, yeah. So I would say 7 to 8 of them are full of honey, then you can extract.
Okay,
But since we have 3 boxes, as long as this have honey in it, you can probably get away with taking all 10.
Oh, wow.
And if they don't have any food, you got to feed them.
True.
Usually you bring in sugar and water.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're doing down in the valley right now. The bees don't have anything to feed upon. So if you go by, we were down in Cape Valley a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of bees there, and the bee had a feeder. The hive had a feeder box on top where they were feeding for the bees. And then, I don't know if you read in the paper about 4 months ago, they were shipping some bees from the Sacramento area to Washington area, the state of Washington, but Delta didn't have a direct flight, so they had to ship the bees from the Bay Area through Atlanta, and then from Atlanta to Washington. When the bees got it was about 5 million bees. When the bees got to Atlanta, it was hot. The people didn't know how to hound bees. They turned the container upside down. All the bees lost all their food, and so millions of bees were lost. I have a friend that's a beekeeper in Atlanta. I told him to go out to the airport, see if he could help rescue some of them. When he got there, most of the bees had died. Some people were able to rescue some of the bees, but that was one of the hazards involved in shipping bees along the way. The bees were on a Delta flight, so when it was very hot in Atlanta, and they, you know how they have these crates, and it got turned over, and the bees lost all their food, and millions of bees died. So Delta, I'm sure they probably had insurance, so they probably had to cover the cost to the beekeeper, but that's unfortunate. And then down in the Delta, and down in Central Valley, a few years ago, a lot of people lost a lot of bees due to the fact of the neurotoxin that they use on the pesticides they use in the field. It's harmful to the bees, and it messes up their nervous system, and it kills them. and so they lost a lot of bees that way too. So a lot of the beekeepers sued the farmers for the loss of their bees because they lost a lot of bees that year. Yes, so bees are having a difficult time, and that's why we encourage people to learn how to take care of bees, learn how to provide food for them, so that because bees are very important to our food supply. About 3/4 of the food that we eat, we have available to us as a result of the bees through their pollination. They're not the only pollinators, but they are a major pollinator. There are also a lot of varieties of bees. These are domesticated bees here, the European honeybees, but there's a lot of wild bees, thousands of wild bees, and we don't take care of those because they take care of themselves. They are out foraging for food. They don't produce honey, but they do a lot of the pollination, just like butterflies and hummingbirds and various other insects. Okay, so thank you very, very much, Malcolm, and we'll gradually walk on back. You'll take some bees with you, but don't brush them off like that. Just let them fly off of you. Okay, so come on back.
Do the bees know you? Because I noticed that you and Malcolm seem to have less bees on you than we do.
We coming in and out. They know.
So they pick up your scent. Or something.
They got it. Yeah, I'll just gradually shake a few off for you.
The first time I went scuba diving was less stressful than that.
Is this your first time wearing a bee suit or?
Yes.
Yeah, I said the thing, like, this is probably one of the only scenarios I could stand next to this much noise and bees and be quite calm. Because otherwise I would be running. Yes, I would be screaming and running even if it's a bad idea.
That one, there's one on your arm too. Here.
Okay, go back.
How many are on me?
Go back.
There's about 5 on you.
Go back. There you go. Okay,
Kind
let's see.
of calming down quite quickly.
Come back
Oh,
over.
you have some on your back.
I think you'll be free.
Yay.
Okay.
See, but look how they're not even swarming around
Okay.
Malcolm at all.
Okay, I think
That's a good idea. So the smoke I use, Rachel.
It must be very
Are you
Ms.
okay if I
Rachel, can you
shake
show
it
the
off
egg
your
carton?
shoulder here?
So I use egg
Okay.
carton for burning material. People also use pine needles.
I'm gonna shake it.
So that's, to me, it just blocks the pheromone, messaging. And nobody got stung, right? Everybody.
everybody okay?
Yeah, I noticed. I was telling Cheyenne that I noticed that they weren't on you in Cheyenne like they were on the rest of us.
Really? Like they know us. Huh? I do think that they learn to recognize one person from another. I do
Okay.
think so.
I just want to stick out. Hey, everybody.
Do you remember why bees use like spam?
One in 3 food items have been touched by bees, but one of the things, one of the quotes that I learned is the bees are the canary in the gold mine. And if you guys are familiar with gold mines and canaries, the miners would put a bird in a cage and the bird would either die or sing to let everyone know that there's too much methane gas or whatever. So it was an early warning system for humans. Bees are the same way. As the bees disappear, a lot of our food, I heard that 7 to 8 out of 10 food items have been touched by bees. So it's somewhere between 1/4 and 3/4. And so they are very, very important. And one of the things I didn't share is I've always been a nature lover. And so in a way, becoming a beekeeper is you're becoming a conservationist. You're helping conserve the world, not just for yourself, but for everyone. Bees every day, one of the facts I found amazing, they fly between 1 and 5 miles. So your beehive, this beehive here, in theory, could fly, maybe not to Hilltop. Yeah, Hilltop Mall is less than 5 miles. So they could range 3 to 5 miles away. So they're not just helping you locally, they're helping a radius of 5 miles around your home. And so imagine if we can get more hives, around, it would definitely help to save this world. Like I said, I love nature. I love the earth. We're running out of fresh water, gas. We call ourselves the smartest species, but we're the only species that destroys its own habitat. So to me, becoming a beekeeper, one of the most important things I like is it's like I said, it's you being a conservationist and you're helping to save the environment. So that's very important. So that's all I wanted to
All right.
say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm. And one of the things you might not think in terms of just what the food that we eat, but just think in terms of the animals, the pigs, the sheep, the goats, the cattle, they eating alfalfa. Well, bees pollinate the alfalfa, and they eat that food, and people that eat meat eat that. So the bees help us in that sense also. So, and for since the Second World War, bees have been having a very difficult time because the chemicals they were using in the Second World War, the people who were making those chemicals needed a market for it after the war was over, so they started using it in agriculture. And when you're driving along the road and you see a nice field of corn or alfalfa or some other tomatoes and you don't see no weeds in the field, that means that crop has been sprayed with a systemic pesticide or herbicide, and it gets in the plant itself. And so when the bees come and get pollen from the plant, they get poisoned because the poison is within the plant itself, and so that's why each year millions and millions of bees are lost as a result of, and it's referred to as colony collapse disorder syndrome, but it's coming from the fact that the food supply in the commercial agriculture is using to de-weed their crops with. Now, we don't use any pesticides or herbicides or no kind of sides like that on our fields here, but that means that the bees just don't stay here. As Malcolm mentioned, they fly around a couple of miles a day looking for food, and so they may leave Eco Village and go to a neighbor that's using chemicals, and they can become exposed to the chemicals that way. And you don't find thousands of bees by your hive. It's a neurotoxin, and they don't find their way back home, and they just die. So it's not like you wake up in the morning, we found a lot of bees lying by their hive. They just didn't. They went away and they got it contaminated, and they couldn't find their way back home. Kind of like a drunkard or something, that it messes up the nervous system. All the bees are, and then you may have heard of the news maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, about it got a lot of publicity about the African bees that were invading North America, and it got a lot of negative publicity, I think, just due to racism. But the African bees interbred with the European bees, and it made the European bees much stronger, much more disease resistant. And so you don't hear that much talk about the African bees, but there is a hornet that comes out of Asia that is very aggressive, and it just decapitates the bees. It can destroy a hive, a colony of bees. It bites the head off the bees, and it can destroy a colony of bees in no time because it's big. We didn't see any there, and we don't have any, fortunate. But they're big hornets, and they're about that size, and they just go and just bite the head off the bees. And these are beds, and then we put all pollinating plants in there, and it didn't get maintained. So one of the pollinators, one of the apprentices in the previous program has taken this on as a project to restore the garden.
Oh, okay.
So that's what he's doing. That's what that is. It's on the Greenway, and our idea was if we didn't have the funds, was to create a large bee that kids could play on, and that's why we have that image there.
I was wondering.
Yeah, that's why it was.